Hi everyone, welcome back to this second in the series of 3 webinars that we're doing on wellness and resilience through this time. I believe we may have some new people on today, and if that's the case and you missed the last session, please check in with Hannah so that you can watch the recording if you would like to. And also I want to thank those of you that completed the survey after the last one, because that's really helpful to us in our planning moving forward. And today at the end of the webinar, Hannah's going to post the link to the next survey into the chat window, so you'll be able to jump on it straight away. And finally, we will have some time for some questions at the end. So to get started today, I wanted to explore a little bit more about the resilience piece that we started exploring last week when we were talking about Anzac Day and those sorts of things. And I think that, one of the things that is really standing out right now is how much modern life has softened us. We live in a time where none of us really thinks about our survival. We don't question where we're going to get food or where we're going to have somewhere safe to sleep. All of our needs are pretty much automatically met. And so most of us haven't ever really had to fight to survive. We haven't really faced struggle that's all about survival, that's keeping ourselves alive. And so because of that, when human beings get to that place where there is a lot of comfort and there is a lot of ease, we lose that edge that human beings need to survive. And oftentimes we stop growing. Now, I feel from all of my learning that one of the essential factors of life is growth. We've got to keep growing. Now, we stop growing physically when we're 18, 19, 20. I was disappointed because I hit this height when I was 15. I thought I was going to be 6'20", but I stopped. Anyway, 6'4" is good enough. But, beyond that, then it's our time to grow intellectually, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And when life is easy, sometimes we don't really have to do those things and we can sort of just cruise through. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when we challenge ourselves to grow, that's when life can bring some incredible richness. Now, I did a lot of work years ago sort of exploring, this whole area, and I realized that the things that really give us the opportunity to grow are the challenges that we face in our lives. Now, you've all had challenges. Some of you have had really, really big ones. Some of you have just had the normal everyday challenges, from being frightened when you first started school to perhaps being bullied a little bit, perhaps being anxious about exams. Some of you played sport. Some of you had to perform on stage because you're into theatre or dance. All those things create challenges that we move through. Then we go into things like relationships, first time we fall in love, the first time we get dumped by somebody we love, the first time we have a split with a friend. All of these things are challenges. And this whole coronavirus thing is a challenge. And the thing about challenges is they offer us an opportunity to make a decision and do something. First, we can say, this is not my fault, and blame our circumstances and hide from it, and retract and play small and become a victim of circumstance. Now, lots of people do it that way. I've done it myself. But at the end of the day, there's zero power in that. There is just no power in it at all. But when we decide to walk towards our challenges and take them on, we learn, we grow, and we get a little bit stronger. And right now, as a collective humanity, this tiny little microscopic virus is giving all of us an opportunity to grow, to get better, and to become stronger. To handle our fear, handle our discomfort with uncertainty, and handle the fact that life has changed and it may never go back to what it was before. Now, how you handle it is up to you. But when you find yourself playing victim, you realise it's time for a shift in perspective. Because there's two basic categories of perspective. The one is the victim who says, hey, this is not my fault, blame somebody else, blame circumstance, make excuses, justify. And then there's the other, which I call the path of the warrior, the person who says, okay, I don't want to do this, it's uncomfortable, I don't like it, it's inconvenient, but I'm going to do it anyway and take it on. So who do you want to be? A warrior or a victim? Now, if you play victim, it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but don't stay there. And if you've got a friend who's playing victim, don't let them stay there. Get on to them, talk to them about it, ask them what they need to do to gather resources to take on their challenge and move forward and get back in control of their lives. Because it is your life, it is my life. It's up to me to make my life better. It's up to you to make yours better too. But that doesn't mean we can't help each other. And that's part of what it means to coach each other, keep each other honest, and keep each other on a good intention to be courageous and bold. Because it's courage and boldness that's really going to move the world forward right now. So please, take your challenges and enjoy them. Resisting them won't work. I now want to talk a little bit more about the physical health of your body. Now, this is an exciting time because a lot of you have got extra time up your sleeve and you can do a little bit of work to improve your health. And it doesn't matter how healthy we are or how unhealthy we are, we can still get better. And if you haven't figured this out yet, this is a challenge I'm putting on you. Now, for years and years and years, Western science and Western medicine has made health so complicated that a lot of people don't know which way to look and where to start and what to do to improve their health. So I want to make that easier for you today. Now, some of you will remember this from when I presented at the conference. But a few years back, there was a whole new paradigm framed for human existence. And it was first presented by Deepak Chopra and Rudolph Tanzi in a book called Super Genes, which you can still buy. And they talked about 3 levels of this paradigm. Now, a paradigm is just a word that describes how you look at something. And 3 levels of this paradigm. So standing here in front of you, there's a whole lot of cells, and there's a real mixture of cells. In this body here that weighs a bit over 100 kilos, 6'4" tall, there's probably around somewhere between 10 and 15 quadrillion cells. Now, a quadrillion is a million. So that's a lot of cells. We haven't got time to count them. So 10 to 15 quadrillion cells. Less than 2% of those cells are actually me. That small group of cells is all of the genetic material that makes up my bones, my organs, my skin, my muscles, my vascular system, my nervous system, all of my connective tissue, everything that makes up my human body. And that group of cells is the first of the 3 levels, and it is called the human genome. The other 90%, 98% of those 12, 13, 14 quadrillion cells is bacteria and fungi. That's right, germs. Now, these cells are much smaller than the human cells, but they coat all of the external surfaces of the human body. So your skin is covered in these bacterial and fungal cells. If you follow the skin on your cheek and go around the corner, you notice it continues on the inside because your gastrointestinal tract is actually part of the external surface of your body. It's the pipe that runs through the middle. Also, your lung cavity is part of the external surface of your body. Your lungs sit in there, and it's there's no blood on the walls of your lung cavity because it's actually part of the external surface of your body. And in the female species, the inside of the vagina is actually also part of the external surface of the body. And all of these areas are coated in bacteria. Below your stomach, in your small and large intestine, there are trillions and trillions of these bacteria and fungi. And this layer is called the microbiome. It's the second level. Now, a couple of things about the microbiome that is really helpful to understand, because until a few years back, we didn't really understand it. We didn't understand its magnitude and we didn't understand what it did. But one of the wonderful things about technology is it's given us insights into really get to know the microbiome and how it works. Here's the first thing. When your microbiome is thriving and it's optimized to its fullest potential, the genome can't get sick. Disease is almost impossible. So for you to get sick, your microbiome has to be in bad shape. Number two, the microbiome comprises 80% of your immunity. When a virus like COVID-19 enters your body, your microbiome knows all about it and it goes straight to work to start preparing the antibodies for you to fight that virus. And in most healthy people, that virus won't get past their throat. Now, when you are really unhealthy and your body's sick and your cells are unhealthy and your microbiome's not functioning to the level it should, that virus will get into cells and it takes over the cells and reprograms their DNA, and those cells become a production plant for more of that virus. And they move on and infect more cells and more cells. And that's when the virus takes over the body and it can kill you. So your microbiome is crucial. And what saddens me at the moment is with all the commentary, everybody's talking about a vaccine. Why aren't we talking about helping people get their microbiome really strong and really healthy and really robust so that they're not at risk? That's the way Western medicine has always worked. Wait for somebody to get sick and come up with a rescue plan. They're not real good at prevention. And prevention at best is some sort of patentable vaccine. But here's the warning on this. Number one, COVID-19 is a virus among trillions of viruses. Next year, we're likely to have a different strain. If we create a vaccine for this one, it won't work for next year's strain of virus. That's the thing about vaccines for viruses. The COVID-19 is a coronavirus, just as the common cold is a coronavirus. We've never been able to create a vaccine for a common cold, so waiting for a vaccine may not be smart. But we can take action right now. But let's understand a little bit further. Your microbiome is delivered to you on the day that you're born. As you pass down through your mother's birth canal and then through the vaginal canal, the last thing your mother gave you was the gift of life, where she implanted the ecology of the entire planet on your skin. Babies come out with all this white pasty material all over their bodies. That's the start of their microbiome. Now, I've got a 30-year-old son. I remember the day he was born, within 2 hours of birth, the nurses were bathing him. Nowadays, they don't do that. The mother's told to wait 5 or 6 days before they bath their baby to let the microbiome settle. Then the first few days of breastfeeding, the baby gets pure colostrum, which is all microbiome, and that's what populates the gut. And then, as time goes on, babies put everything in their mouths. They put their mouths on, they want to suck daddy's dirty ear as he comes back from his construction job, because they're gathering microbiome. They're getting it from wherever they can and building their immunity as they go. I remember, I've got 8 siblings, and my younger siblings were always out in the garden eating dirt. And people thought it must have been minerals they were chasing, but I realised now they were just building their microbiome. And we can do that too, and I'm going to show you how to do it. But see, over time, we've been doing a lot of things that break down the microbiome. And we're going to look at these. Number one, antibiotics. Antibiotics indiscriminately kill all bacteria. Now, there are two types of bacteria. There is aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobic bacteria are the ones that make you sick. But all this beautiful microbiome bacteria is aerobic bacteria. And it's good. But antibiotics kill the whole lot. So when you take antibiotics, you devastate your microbiome. And if you don't rebuild it, then it stays devastated for a long time. So luckily, we're learning this now, and in medicine, doctors are using antibiotics more and more and more sparingly. And I reckon we'll get to the point where they'll be hospital use only. And that won't be too soon when that happens. But a lot of GPs now, when you go to them and you start demanding antibiotics because you've got a chest infection, they're more likely to tell you to go down to the health food store or the chemist and get yourself some probiotics. Now, you might be wondering about probiotic supplements. They're okay, but there's not enough strains in them. They're a limited strain. We need a broader set of strains of probiotics for you to really get yourself healthy. Now, I want to talk about how this relates to the broader Mother Nature, because it's crucial. This microbiome doesn't just exist in the human body. It exists everywhere. It exists in the soil, it exists in animals, all other life forms. And it's vital to survival of life on this planet. It's that crucial. Now, it wasn't until a few years ago that we really started to understand mushrooms. Now, the mushroom mycelium network, if you were to step outside on the grass and just plant your foot there, directly underneath your foot, there would be about 500 kilometres of mushroom mycelium fibre. That's how extensive it is. And what we've learned is that this network of mushroom mycelium, it's Mother Nature's internet. It's the communication network that connects the whole planet. And it's so incredible that if there was a bushfire out in the Dandenong Ranges today, the trees out here in Yarra Park around the MCG would know about it and they'd be responding to it. And the same thing in your body. This communication network in the microbiome with the fungal cells and the bacterial cells is so incredible, they're connected to every single cell of the genome. And so as soon as they detect a virus coming in that's a little bit out of control, they're already switching on your immune cells in your body, switching on your white blood cells, and your body's getting ready. So the better your microbiome is, the better your chances of preventing any sort of sickness, especially from viruses. Now, an area that we need to look at here is what we've done to our food and how that impacts upon our microbiome. See, for years and years now, pretty much since the Second World War, we've used chemicals in our farming. This all started because there was incredible stockpiles of the chemicals that were used for making bombs. And so they had these stockpiles, they didn't know what to do with it, and they noticed that the grass growing around this stuff was actually really thriving, and they realised for some reason these compounds were causing plants to grow. So they started selling them as synthetic fertilisers. And so these synthetic fertilisers spread across the world, and what happened is that farmers started to change the way they farmed. Now, it used to be that if a farmer had 6 fields, every year he would plant 5 of them, and the next year the one that hadn't been used would get introduced and another one would be given a rest. They call that leaving the field in fallow, and allowed other plants to grow and allowed the microbiome in the soil to regenerate itself. And that's how farms kept the soil healthy. As soon as we started using these chemicals, that didn't happen, and slowly we exhausted the soil. And it got worse and worse and worse over time. Then, in the mid-90s, something significant changed. We then found ourselves planting crops that had been manufactured so that they could withstand large doses of a herbicide which would kill off any other plants around the crop to give maximum yield for the crop. That herbicide is called Roundup, the active ingredient, glyphosate, and these genetically modified Roundup-ready crops spread across the world because they were marketed as the saviour of humanity because we'd be able to feed the world. The opposite happened. Over time, we've completely destroyed the soil. Some of the old wise farm gurus in the world reckon that we've probably got 50 or 60 harvests left before our soil is completely dead. Now, along the way with that, the nutrition in the food that's grown in the soil has been degraded, and the quality of the microbiome agents we would normally get from our food has also been degraded because it all gets killed. These herbicides kill the microbiome. So whilst the apple looks really good in the supermarket, its nutrient value is nowhere near the apple that grew on your great-grandfather's tree. Now, something else happened. Lining the walls of your gut, your small intestine, your large intestine, very, very fine membranes. They're like cellophane. And they're sort of patches that are bound together with this almost bonded like Velcro. And they line your small intestines, they line the tubules in your kidney, they also line your blood-brain barrier. And since 1995, there's been a marked increase in several diseases. The most notable one has been autism, but also Parkinson's disease in men, dementia in women, and several blood cancers. The researchers who have been following this traced it back to a breakdown in these membranes, really severely broken down membranes. And what's causing it? It's Roundup. Now, Roundup is in everything. It's a water-soluble chemical. So when it rains, Roundup comes down in the rain. It's going to take a long time for us to get it out of the soil. I don't think it's going to last on the market very long. It'll be removed. But that doesn't mean that there won't be others to replace it. But we can worry about that. We can get angry about it if we like. But here's how you fix it. You can fix the damage that's been done to your body, and most of you, your gut will be damaged by Roundup. There's two ways you can do it. Number one, you commit to eating organic-only food for about 3 months. Or the other thing you can do is get online and order yourself a bottle of Restore. I'll send the link to you, and you can buy the Restore, take it before each meal, and in a few weeks you'll repair all that tissue. And you'll be able to then start to get all of your membranes in check so that you can then fully rebuild your microbiome. And then we can all get more responsible about where we buy our food and the food that we buy. What's going to save the environment on this planet is everybody choosing to buy organic food. Now, I can hear people saying, oh, you can't get it near me, or it's too expensive, or all those sorts of things. I hear you. But here's the thing. I've stopped buying my fruit and veg at supermarkets. I just don't do it anymore. Because Saturday morning, I go to a farmer's market, and they're spread out all over Melbourne, and there's always a farmer's market within 5 kilometres of me. And we go there, it's a really lovely outing to go there, and we buy the most amazing produce from the growers. It's organic, it's beautiful, and you know what? An organic carrot bought at a farmer's market is cheaper than a conventional carrot bought at Woolworths. So price is not a factor. It's just a little modification to the way you live your life. And you can do it. And I guarantee your kids will love the day out as well. The other thing you can do, of course, is start planting your own veggies if you've got a bit of space. You've got the time now if you're working from home, and it's a great thing to do, to work with your kids and create a project to produce your own food. And one of the things that used to operate quite extensively in some parts of Australia was a let program, where there'd be a bunch of people come together and one person would say, I'll grow carrots and pumpkins, another person would say, I'm going to grow zucchinis and broccoli, and they specialise in those two plants for the next season, and they all come together and share and swap so that everybody gets a little bit of what they want. But when you do that, you restore the health of your gut and you restore your microbiome. Now, how do you know whether it's working well? Well, it's your bowels. Let's just have a little chat about your bowels. Okay. Now, below your stomach, you've got your small intestine, which is quite narrow, and it sort of weaves around in the middle, and then it eventually down here joins to the large intestine, and the large intestine goes up there, across there, down there, and out. That's about this wide, or it should be. Now, I was given autopsy reports some years ago of people who died suddenly from bowel cancer and bowel disease, and their bowels were in terrible state. So whether your bowels are healthy or not depends on a couple of things. Here's the rules. Number one, you should, if you're eating 3 meals a day, you should take 3 dumps a day, or at least 2, okay? Rule number 2, when you do go, it should be an easeful experience. There should be no struggle. There should be no need for a set of foot chocks and handle grips under the caroma. Number 3, when you stand up and look back with pride, there should be nicely formed, slightly fluffy floaters, no slimy sinkers, no avalanches down the back of the bowl, okay? And after you flush, no skid marks on the base of the bowl. And rule number 4, it should be completely and totally safe for an innocent little 5-year-old girl to go in there immediately after you and not suffocate on your stench, okay? Now, if you can't tick all those boxes, it's time to get to work on your bowels. So, there's a couple of things first. You can clean your bowels out. Now, there's a couple of different methods, and neither of them involves an ice pick. Okay, the first one is just a saltwater flush that you can do at home. Now, it's easy to do. All you have to do is buy yourself some Celtic sea salt, which is nice hand harvested sea salt from the North Atlantic. And the great part about Celtic sea salt is it contains all the minerals and trace minerals that exist in the human body in an almost identical proportion, so it's highly nutritional. It's very good for you. You can eat it. But to make a solution to flush your bowels out, you need to do this on a morning that you're going to be at home. Now, I used to say to people, do this on a Saturday morning, but of course, now that you work from home, you can do it every day if you want, although I don't recommend that. But you can start tomorrow if you want. So you need a 2-litre jug, you put in a level dessert spoon of the salt, add a bit of boiling water, give it a little stir till the salt goes into solution, fill it up with a mixture of hot and cold water till you've got 2 litres of warm seawater. You've got to do this on an empty stomach. So you get up, drink your morning water as you normally would. Remember last week I told you about how much water to drink in the morning. Once that's in, then you've got to drink your 2 litres of salt water. And you've got to do it within 30 minutes. Now, a good way to do it is to pour it into a bottle and guzzle it, because when you guzzle it, you don't taste it as much. But just get it in, okay? Like, don't complain, all right? It's all right. Toughen up a bit. It's a challenge. Just remember that. Then, from there, once it's in, keep drinking as much slightly warm water as you can. Just keep drinking water. And don't go out. And if you're sitting around waiting for something to happen and you get overcome with the urge to pass wind, don't do that either. Seriously, okay? Because when it comes, it's going to come with a violent rush. And so when you're there in the bathroom and you finish and you stand up and you're walking out thinking, oh God, what was that all about? It ain't over. You've got 3 or 4 encores to come, okay? And you'd be amazed what comes out of you. Then do it again the next day. In fact, over a couple of weeks, do it about a half a dozen times. Say do about 2 or 3 days in a row, have a bit of a break, do another couple of days, until you start passing clean water. And when you're passing clean water, you know that you've cleaned out a lot of the muck in your bowel. Because some people have got up to 20 kilograms of muck built up in their bowels. Okay. Once you do that, you can then start rebuilding your microbiome. And this is the fun part, because it involves consuming things that have been fermented. Now, Tony's probably going to think I'm talking wine immediately right now. But this is about, fermented foods and fermented non-alcoholic beverages. So, I'm going to send you some links that show you how to make your own fermented veggies. Now, some of you will have tried Korean kimchi before. It's an amazing fermented Chinese cabbage. It's really good. Just one spoonful of that is full of billions of probiotics. Now, be mindful of buying shop-bought stuff, because it's been in the jar too long and some of it has been treated so that it has a longer shelf life. You're better off making your own fresh fermented veggies. For example, right now at home, I've got a 3-litre jar on my bench that's now down to about half full of fermented cabbage. And all I did was finally chop up a whole lot of cabbage, push it into the jar and pack it in really tight. Then I mix a couple of dessert spoons of Celtic sea salt in some water, and I poured it in on top of that till it's full to the brim, and I put a tea towel over it. And after about a week, it starts to really ferment, and you can smell the beautiful fermented smell coming from the jar. And then you start to eat it. And you only have to eat a small amount each day, just a couple of spoonfuls. And the longer you leave it there, the more it ferments and the richer the probiotic. Now, you can even, if you don't like the taste of fermented cabbage, you can put it in the blender as part of a sauce that you make to put on vegetables or salad dressings. Doesn't matter, it's still going to have that beautiful, vital microbiome. The other thing you can do is make your own kombucha soft drink. Now, I've got the kombucha down pat now, and my kombucha is beautiful, it's fizzy, and it's so incredibly alive. It was incredible. In fact, we went to see some friends before this lockdown started, and we took a large bottle of kombucha and we sat round and we had a bit of a chat and we drank the whole of the kombucha. And the friends rang us the next morning and said, "We can't believe our bowels, we're constantly going, So that's how quickly it works. And they didn't have diarrhea or anything, it was very well formed, but they were building that bacteria really quickly in their gut. So if you've never made kombucha before, I'm going to send you a link that shows you how to make it. It's very simple. I've got a 12-litre urn that I bought at Matchbox. And because it's 12 litres, I need 12 green tea bags and 3 cups of sugar. And I just use organic raw sugar. I steep the tea and dissolve the sugar in boiling water, put it into the urn, fill it up with filtered water till I've got 12 litres of sweet green tea. Then I add my SCOBY, and a SCOBY stands for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And there's going to be a link in the email to show you where to get your SCOBY. And you put the SCOBY in and it floats in the top. You pour the liquid in that the SCOBY's been floating in, because that's how you store a SCOBY. You store it floating in the cupboard in kombucha. And after 9 days, the SCOBY will have fermented all that sugar and turned it into amazing prebiotics. Once you're ready at that point, I then take the SCOBY out, put it back in a bowl, add some kombucha, put it back in the cupboard. Then I add a litre of juice, raspberry juice, blueberry juice, pineapple juice, whatever you want, or you can make a liquid of about a litre of boiled up ginger with more sugar and add that. Stir it up, bottle it, seal the bottles tight, leave it sitting on the bench for another 3 or 4 days, and you've got beautiful fizzy soft drink. And your kids will love it. And if you get your kids involved in producing the kombucha, you're away. You won't have to think about it anymore after that. There'll always be some there. You can also make kefirs, learn how to make your own yogurts, all of these beautiful fermented foods are going to rebuild your microbiome, rebuild your kids' microbiomes, and give you incredible immunity and take away your risk of getting any of those diseases that have been crippling the healthcare system for so long. It's the key, a healthy microbiome. So what do you reckon? Can you have a try at that? And this is an experiment. You just keep trying this, trying different things, find out what you like and work with that. And it's pretty cool. Now, some people don't want to make their own kombucha, they want to buy it. You can buy it at Aldi. It's about $2.50 a bottle, and it's good kombucha. So really up to you how you do it. Okay. Now, it's also important to realise that things that break down your microbiome are chemicals in food, too much refined sugar, too much alcohol. Now, having a few drinks is fine. It's good for you. You relax, you spend time with friends, you enjoy people's company, but only 5 people, right? Now, but we've got to look at our sugar consumption, because in our society we've become so horribly addicted to sugar, and it does break us down. And you're looking at me and going, well, I can't have my coffee without a sugar. Well, start moving to the darker, unprocessed sugars. The really dark muscovado cane sugar, the organic coconut sugar, those really dark sugars, they're full of nutrition that supports the body, and it allows the sugar to trickle into the system rather than smashing the system. Start doing that. Get away from white sugar, even get away from things like raw sugar. The only time you would ever use any of those sugars is when you're making your kombucha, because they get broken down anyway, way before they enter the human body. Keep a check on your alcohol consumption, and keep a check on your consumption of processed foods. Do you really need to buy processed foods? We're all better off if our food is fresh. So start looking at how you can do that, because you're the one that pays the price in the end. I was listening to a podcast, a Joe Rogan podcast on the weekend. He was talking to Elon Musk about alternative energy. And Elon Musk said, we must move to solar and wind energy and all the alternative forms of energy. We've got the battery power to store it now. And he said, people go on about the fact that it shouldn't be subsidised. And he said, the problem is with that, with coal and oil, we are subsidising those with our future, because there's debts that we're going to have to pay back in the future because of the consumption of those sorts of things. And the same thing for you. When you put highly processed, highly chemicalised foods into your body, they might be cheap, but you're going to have to pay one day. So it's really up to you how you want to do that. We've got the opportunity now to really take control of our food and get good at cooking again, and get good at really getting our hands on really good food. Now, final thing with your microbiome, be mindful of the fact that it is all over your body. So when you're washing your body with soap, just a really gentle soap, you don't need antibacterial soaps, okay? Just keep them away from your skin. I got to be honest, I'm not even a big fan of the hand wipes. I'll use it if I have to, but it's like, because my microbiome is really so healthy, I don't feel like I need to do that. But you may not be the same. But you make your own decisions around that. But definitely keep those antibacterial soaps off the rest of your skin on your body. Alrighty. Now, there will be an opportunity for some questions at the end. So if you've got any questions at this point, I've just given you a lot of data about your microbiome, but it's okay. This is an ongoing thing where we all need to keep learning and keep growing. Okay. Now, some of you are wondering about exercise. Now, I reckon that this is a wonderful opportunity to create exercise for yourself as a challenge at this time, to help yourself become better. And one of the first things that we all need to overcome with exercise is our own laziness. Tommy Hafey, for those of you who know Tommy Hafey Tommy was a legendary football coach. He coached Richmond to 4 premierships. He coached Geelong, Sydney Swans, he coached Collingwood. And Tommy was legendary for the fact that the only thing he ever wore was a t-shirt. And every morning Tommy trained. He went for a long run. He would do a couple hundred push-ups on the beach, have a good stretch, go in for a swim 365 days of the year, and then go home and do 700 sit-ups. And Tommy died a few years ago. He was only 82 when he died. He had brain tumours that came from melanoma that had been in his system for 27 years. So instead of dying 25 years before when he should have, his lifestyle and the way he lived his life kept that melanoma at bay for a very long time. And Tommy used to live around the corner from me, so I'd often see him, and sometimes we would do speaking gigs together. And I'd run past him in the mornings and we'd say a quick hello. And I said to him, "What's the hardest part about your training program?" And he said to me, "Getting out of bed." I said, "Really?" And he said, "It's never been easy. I can't remember a day when it was easy to get out of bed." And he said, "When I wake up, my mind gives me all sorts of excuses and justifications like, oh, I had a late night last night, or I trained really hard yesterday and my body's tired, or I've got a really busy day today." He said, but eventually that little voice would kick in and say, "Get out of bed, you lazy thing." And he said, "I'd get up and get into it." But he said, "You know what? It never gets easy, because I realise we have to overcome our laziness on a daily basis." So here's the plan. First off, if you've decided that you are going to do some exercise, whether it be jogging, going for runs, doing a yoga workout at home, whatever it is, plan when you're going to do it. Once you've got that plan, stick to the plan. Do it. No excuses. No justifications. This is your life. When we break those agreements with ourselves, we degrade ourselves and we start not liking ourselves because we let ourselves down. So, for example, I'm one of those guys who likes to get up early in the morning and I go training in the mornings. Most of the time it's running when the swimming pool's open. I go swimming at the moment. I have to swim in the bay. It's a little chilly, but it's still all right. Every morning when that alarm goes off, I used to hate it, getting up, getting my gear on, getting hydrated in 15 minutes later going out the door. The way I solved that is I get up 90 minutes before I go out training. So now I get up closer to 4 o'clock, which is fine, get a bit of work done, prepare myself, get myself hydrated, even have a nice coffee, and then go out training. And it's so much easier to do it then. And so many times I just don't feel like doing it, but I make myself go outside. So here's the get out clause for you. If you've decided that you're going to exercise, say for example you're going to go walking or jogging in the mornings or in the evenings, it doesn't matter. When the time comes, put on your gear. I don't care how tired you are. Put on your gear, go outside and go to the corner. Once you're at the corner, if you just don't want to do it today, it's okay. You can go back home. But you're not allowed to make that decision whilst you've got your head on the pillow or whilst you're sitting on the couch. No deal. Make it at the corner. Because the toughest part with any exercise program is getting your butt to the starting line. So if you're going to swim in the mornings when the pools reopen, get up, go to the pool, enter, pay your entry fee, okay, before you pull out. It's a must. Second thing is, exercise is all about a concept called progressive overload, which means your body adapts. Every time you put a load on your body, it adapts to that load. If the load's too big, you get injured. If you don't get injured, it means the load was good enough and you'll adapt. You'll get a little bit stronger, you'll develop a little bit, the energy pathways in your muscles will improve, your heart will get a little bit stronger, and next time you'll be able to do a tiny little bit more. So the trick with exercise is to progress the overload. After every few workouts, make it a bit heavier. After a few more, make it a bit heavier. So for example, here's a jogging program. If you've never jogged and you'd like to learn how to jog, here's a really cool thing to do. For the first few weeks, go walking. Just go walking. Once you've got a few weeks of walking under your belt, then you can go out and set yourself a goal for 30 minutes. And then walk for a minute, jog for half a minute. Walk for a minute, jog for half a minute. If you don't want to be looking at a watch all the time, know that when you're walking, if you're counting your right leg, 60 paces on your right leg will be about a minute. And when you're jogging, 40 paces on your right leg will be about half a minute. So you just do that. Go out for 15 minutes and come back. And you'll feel good. Next time you go out, do the same thing. Every second day is enough. After you've done that for a couple of weeks, now try going 50 paces and 60 paces walk. And what you're doing is slowly increasing the load. And the way to increase the load is either increase the amount of distance that you run, or reduce the amount of distance that you walk, or slightly increase the speed at which you run. Any of those will do. And over time, you just work at your own pace, and before you know it, you'll be jogging for 30 minutes. Now, if yoga is your thing, there are so many wonderful apps available that you can download now. These beautiful yoga teachers who will take you through from a beginner level each day and build you through a program till you get really, really good. I know my partner uses an app like that and she loves it. She'll take on a 30-day program and she does it every single day and it's awesome for her. She gets great results. It's not that hard. The trick is, though, is to commit. And if you like exercising by yourself, which I do, it's a really cool time to just chill and have quiet time while you exercise. Some people prefer to exercise with somebody else. It's social time. I've done that too. That's really good. The cool part about having a buddy is that if you don't turn up, you let somebody down. So if you find that you're a bit of a wanderer and you struggle to commit, get yourself a buddy and get yourself into the habit. And over time, you'll get good at it. And then you will be the one that can help motivate somebody else to get started. And we can all work together on this point. Finally, for some of you out there, especially the guys, the bigger guys, and especially as you get a bit older, it can be a common thing for your Achilles tendons to play up. So the way to get around that is to find a footy oval and do your running, walking around the oval on the grass. And that tends to have you using your feet a lot more. It helps improve the mechanics of your feet and it takes some of that irregular load off your Achilles tendon and eases some of the stress and the pressure. Now finally, I want to go to the third level and we'll talk more about it next week. And this is the epigenome. So the genome is all of your human cells. The microbiome is all the bacteria and fungal cells that encase everything. And then the epigenome is the sensory arrays. It's like this sensory element that interfaces with you and your life. Now you notice when you touch the screen of your mobile phone, stuff happens in the phone. Same thing with you. When life touches you, stuff happens back here. And how you perceive life has a direct impact on the stability and the well-being of your microbiome and your genome. So, if your experience of life is negative, hard done by, unlucky, poor me, unfortunate, stressed, angry, resentful, worried all the time. What about me? I hate that song. All those things, the impact on your microbiome and your genome is devastating. It's like stealing away their clean air and their sunshine, and they start to degrade. But if your experience of life is positive, it's happy, it's creative, it's like, how can I help? What can I contribute? You're grateful for what you've got in your life. You find ways to have fun. You've got good friends. You like talking to people. You find purpose in your daily life. You find joy in simple things. The impact on your microbiome is like this beautiful morning sun and a fresh mountain breeze. Brings it to life. So my question to you is, how are you perceiving your life? I was watching a video yesterday of some people in Africa living a simple life. They've got nothing, and they're so happy. They're so grateful that their harvest is going to turn out this year. You know, it's not going to be eaten by locusts. And they live in ramshackle houses, and they've got one set of clothes, and they're happy, happy, happy. And we get stressed about the most insane things. And we've got to look at ourselves and ask, why are we doing that? We've forgotten the qualities that we need to learn how to really have appreciation for our lives and the gratitude for what we've got. So next session I'm going to talk more about those things. But between now and then, I want to ask you, how are you experiencing your life? What can you improve to make your experience better just by shifting your perspective? It's like I said last week, glass half full, glass half empty. Which one is it? And remember, we are some of the luckiest people in the world. Right now, the rest of the world is looking at Australia and going, how did you guys do it? You guys have really handled this coronavirus. You're doing great. We've done well. We're very lucky. How can you get more gratitude for your existence, for your life, for your opportunities, so that you can feel better about yourself and allow your microbiome and your genome to thrive beneath your happiness and your contentment? So crucial. Alrighty, that's enough for today. We're just checking to see if anybody's got any questions. Hannah will read them out to me if there are.
Okay, I have a question here. Can stress interfere with the microbiome?
You bet it can, and I've just explained how that is. So your epigenetics passes on that negative impact, and your microbiome can break down. And you can really, a lot of people really struggle with their gut. So the trick is, if you've got stress, it's good to start doing work on handling it. And there's a couple of ways to handle your stress. Number one, firstly, ask yourself, what are the viewpoints that you're sitting in that are causing you to see situations the way they are, that are then having you react to that viewpoint? Because most of the time, when we're stressed, it's not because of what's going on, it's because of how we're looking at what's going on. So it's a good opportunity to talk it through with somebody and share ideas and perspectives around your situation. The second thing is, if that's still a struggle for you, then shoot me an email and I'll get you some information on meditation. And there are some really good meditation programs that you can follow on YouTube. There's meditation apps as well. And start teaching yourself to meditate and calming yourself down. Meditation has a profound impact on the health of your microbiome simply by softening all of your experiences. Hope that helps.
Another one, what are your thoughts on fasting?
Fasting, yeah, I did a 9-day fast back in April, so I just didn't eat a thing for 9 days and did lots of bowel flushing while I did it, and I just had 200 mils of carrot juice every day and lots of water and ginger tea, and it was amazing. It was just incredible. In fact, the last seminar I did, it was day 9 of my fast. So I bet I didn't look like I was lacking energy. And it's amazing when you're fasting, you can still exercise, your body feels energetic, you feel really good. And I reckon it's a natural part of human beings, because you've only got to go back a few hundred years where people regularly went for periods where they just had no food because there was nothing available. And that's part of our makeup, I think. And so if you've never fasted before and you want to give it a try, it is worth giving it a try. But I would check in with a naturopath first, have somebody there you can call, because sometimes when you do fast and your body decides to detox itself, you can have a little bit of what they call a healing crisis, where you might get a really bad cold or some stomach pains or those sorts of things. So it's good to have somebody to check in with, and I would recommend a naturopath for that. Okay, anything else?
I think that's all at the moment.
Way to go. Fantastic. Great. Well, Hannah's going to send through the survey now. Yep. So you've put, and it'll be linked in, it'll be put into the chat. So please, if you've got just an extra couple of minutes, please do the survey. It really helps us move this whole program forward. You'll get another email with lots and lots of resources in it. Please enjoy that. And if you've got any questions further, please email them through. Always happy to respond. So get back to work, everybody, and thank you very, very much.